In Honduras, President Xiomara Castro met with China's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs as both nations continue to strengthen bilateral relations. In Palestine, the United Nations Children's Fund warned that more than half of the schools in the Gaza Strip have been attacked by Israeli occupation forces since the beginning of the genocide. And in Lebanon, the interim Prime Minister Najib Mikati called for national unity to face the Israeli occupation threat. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The governments of Honduras and China advancing their bilateral cooperation by the signing of an agreement to strengthen their educational development. On Tuesday, President of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, met with Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of China, Wang Xunyi, to discuss a free trade agreement between both countries, their fight against poverty, and the strengthening of their education system. The authorities announced a project aimed at improving the school infrastructure in Honduras as China will allocate $9 billion. Such a contribution will allow the transformation of the educational model in Honduras with the construction and equipment of 375 educational centers.
Some of the subjects discussed were the exchange of views on projects and other issues, financing and financial support for projects in the country, and also the subject of the free trade agreement, which is progressing in a very timely manner in which, I think it is important to say, the government of the Republic and President Castro are taking all the necessary measures to ensure that this agreement is beneficial to the Honduran people.
In Venezuela, the Vatican Representative Apostolic Nuncio Monsignor Alberto Ortega Martin handed over their credential letters to the constitutional president Nicolas Maduro. In a historic act, both authorities shook hands as a symbol of peace and as a symbol of the recognition of the Holy See to the constitutional government of President Nicolas Maduro, and also as a proof of the historical relationship of mutual respect between the Vatican State and Venezuela. Venezuela continues to recover from the violence it suffered after the elections, which mainly targeted social leaders, security officials, public institutions, and social services, infrastructure, among others.
Commerce, transportation, and services functioning normally is the current face of Valencia, Venezuela's third largest city, in the central part of the country. But 2 weeks ago, an outbreak of violence shook the city. 15 days after the violent acts carried out by sectors of the extreme right that rejected the results of July 28 in Venezuela, here in Valencia the authorities and the organized people are reopening facilities that were attacked, such as this police module and a community pharmacy. This pharmacy is located in Santa Rosa Parish, a popular area and located on one of the main access roads to the city. It serves hundreds of people regardless of their political affiliation.
It's being reopened to the people, where we can get medicines at low cost and to benefit the entire people living near the pharmacy.
It was strong because fascism brought out the most vile in their flesh, the most fascist thing that could exist in a human being, that hatred that they rooted against our Venezuelan brothers. They went out to burn police modules, pharmacies that benefit such a vulnerable people as the Santa Rosa Parish. For instance, elderly people who find their cheap medicines.
Political and security authorities have denounced that the acts of violence in Valencia and in other cities of the country responded to a destabilization plan. From this monitoring room they attended and recorded the violent acts.
This was planned, this was organized, this was financed, and we stated with foundation, with evidence seized. Cell phones were seized from these subjects. Phones that have registered WhatsApp groups. These WhatsApp groups, in a very high percentage, are made of phones with international lines from Chile, Peru, United States, and they receive instructions.
The great task now is to rebuild the social relations and trust that they tried to break within the communities.
We have guaranteed peace. The situation only arose on July 29, in view of the fact that these violent, fascist, terrorist groups were looking for a confrontation between the state security agencies and the people, a confrontation of people against people.
Normality consolidates in cities like Valencia, Caracas, and others shaken by fascist violence.
Leonel Retamal y Jesús Romero, teleSUR, Valencia, Estado Carabobo, Venezuela.
In Bolivia, reports and cases of human trafficking have increased constantly over the last 3 years and have almost doubled. The main destination of this phenomenon is sexual exploitation, followed by labor exploitation. Correspondent Fred Morales has a story.
Human trafficking begins with the disappearance of a person. If the absence is prolonged, the police label the report as human trafficking. On average, 1/3 of every 1,000 missing persons reports result in human trafficking.
In the first half of last year, we had 1,653 reports, of which 1,328 people were found. But we are still looking for 325 people. During the first half of this year, we have more than 1,807 reports, of which we have found 1,380 reports.
According to research, most of the people trafficked are children and adolescents, and preferably women. They are mainly recruited for the purpose of sexual exploitation.
It is always considered child sexual exploitation, which is known as child prostitution in some places. This child sexual exploitation is just that. It is sexual exploitation. There are no children that involve consent, because it is a minor. There is no consent in this, and this is human trafficking, because there are benefits for third parties.
The second destination of victims of human trafficking is labor exploitation, but 14 destinations have been verified, ranging from organ trafficking to forced pregnancy, sex tourism, forced begging, servile marriage, and employment in criminal activities. In Bolivia, the cases detected are met with judicial condescension.
If we do not have a significant number of sentences, we are sending a message to criminal organizations and criminals that this crime is not being punished in the country, and the work done by the rest of the institutions for prevention, attention to victims, investigation, ends up being insufficient in the face of this reality, since this is a message which is very strong.
Permissiveness of the justice system, according to the authorities, may contribute to the fact that the phenomenon of human trafficking has almost doubled in just 3 years.
In 2021, the total in Bolivia was 589. In 2022, it was 724, and in 2023, it was 947. Therefore, there is an increase in the number of complaints in the processes that are currently underway for human trafficking, which has to do with social networks.
According to official statistics, 70% of trafficked persons in Bolivia are under 18 years of age and 76% are women. In more than 80% of the cases, victims are recruited through social networks, and it has been revealed that a trafficker needs only 18 minutes to convince his victim to have a meeting.
Freddy Morales, teleSUR, Bolivia.
In Argentina, former President Cristina Fernández will testify in court for the assassination attempt against her perpetrated on September 1st, 2022. Fernández will testify this Wednesday in the courts of Comodoro P in the continuation of the judicial process against the perpetrators of the attack. Her testimony comes almost 2 months after the beginning of the trial and after the statements of the 3 accused in the case: Fernando Sabac Montiel, Brenda Oliarte, and Nicolás Corrizo. Before the trial, the former president pointed to the hegemonic media and to the judicial negligence that chose to dismiss the clues that led to the masterminds and financiers of the attack. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Palestine demanded punishment for the Israeli authorities before the Security Council for dismissing all calls to stop the genocide in the Gaza Strip. On a session of the United Nations Security Council, their Palestinian representative, Riyad Mansour, denounced that the Tel Aviv regime points out that hunger is a legitimate war weapon, while justifying its massacres against innocent civilians. Likewise, Mansour assured that the Zionist entity turns a blind eye to international declarations and resolutions. Several UN members, such as Russia, Algeria, and China, condemned on Tuesday's sessions the attack perpetrated by Israel on a school in Gaza that claimed over 100 lives.
To those who continue to arm Israel, to those who still have the audacity to call in Israel, quote unquote, to investigate its own crimes, as if the actions of its soldiers do not reflect actual policies of its military and political leaders. To those who dare to try and deter international courts from ensuring accountability instead of deterring the perpetrators of atrocities. Wake up! Wake up!
Meanwhile, in Palestine, at least 16 people were killed by Israeli bombardments perpetrated during the last hours in the center and north of the Gaza Strip. An attack carried out before midnight on Tuesday at the Nusayrat refugee camp claimed the lives of the entire Abu Naba family. 7 people, including the father, mother, and 5 children between the ages of 2 and 11, were killed during the bombing. On the other hand, at least 9 people were killed and several wounded after separate attacks by the Israeli army in the Maghazi refugee camp in the southern city of Han Yunis and in Beit Lahia, north of Gaza. The interim Prime Minister of Lebanon, Najib Mikati, stresses the importance of national unity to confront the threats and aggressions of the Israeli occupation forces. Mikati highlighted that solidarity among the Lebanese must be stronger than ever ahead of Israeli hostility. The interim Prime Minister further called on the international community to play a decisive and immediate role in defusing tensions and stopping the current Israeli aggression. In this regard, the authority insisted on implementing the United Nations Security Council resolutions to immediately reduce or cease Israel's provocative actions, mitigate risks, and safeguard civilians. On Wednesday, over 700,000 residents of West and Central Africa continue to be affected by torrential rains and severe flooding. A UN briefing reported that these weather phenomena impacted on the 746,473 lives from the Central African Republic, Chad, Cote d'Ivoire, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Liberia, Nigeria, Mali, and Togo. The report further registered 72 deaths from drowning and 699 injured. Furthermore, over 62,000 houses have been damaged, leaving 44,772 displaced. Meanwhile, the Central Emergency Response Fund allocated almost $10 million to Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Niger in response to climate emergencies. In Greece, wildfires have spread over 10,000 hectares of land, leaving a fatality and thousands of evacuees. Greek firefighting authorities are striving to put out thousands of active wildfire spots across the country. For this emergency, the government deployed hundreds of firefighters, 200 trucks, and 9 aircraft to help control the active outbreaks. Moreover, the Turkey Aviation joined the efforts undertaken by the national authorities, sending 2 amphibious planes and a helicopter to assist the firefighting teams in Athens. On Wednesday, the governor of the Russian province of Belgorod, Vyacheslav Gladkov, declared a regional emergency over Ukrainian attacks. The governor said the decision is aimed at implementing measures to provide greater citizen protection, highlighting the devastating impact that these aggressions have had on the local population. The governor indicated that in the last hours, Ukrainian drone attacks have been registered in 2 localities of the province, causing structural damage in the area.
The situation in our Belgorod region remains extremely difficult and tense due to daily shelling from the Ukrainian armed forces. Buildings are being destroyed, civilians are being injured and killed. So we are taking this decision, starting from today, in order to provide additional protection to the population, to provide additional support measures to victims. A state of emergency will be introduced on a regional level throughout Belgorod.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida announced on August 14th that he will not seek re-election as leader of the Liberal Democratic Party, ending his nearly three-year term in office. Kishida stressed the need for change within the Liberal Democratic Party, especially after his popularity plummeted due to a corruption scandal and price hikes that have hit Japanese households. His support has fallen below 20%, and the new LDP leader to be elected in September will automatically become the next Prime Minister. Kishida emphasized the importance of transparent elections and open debates to revitalize the party and pledged to support his successor.
In this presidential election, it is necessary to show the people that the LDP, Liberal Democratic Party, is changing, and the party is new LDP. For this, transparent and open elections and free and vigorous debate are important. The most obvious first step to show that the LDP will change is for me to step aside. I will not be running in the forthcoming presidential election.
In this context, some Japanese citizens have shared their opinion on the matter.
I was surprised. I knew there were some issues, but I had no idea he was thinking of quitting, so it was surprising to me. I personally would like to see someone younger take charge. We have only seen very old politicians lead our country so far, so someone more youthful and efficient would be good.
His approval ratings have been fast declining, so I'm actually impressed he has made it this long. I personally think the negative sides of the LDP have been surfacing lately, so a change in power might be a good idea.
On Wednesday, Prime Minister of Pakistan Shehbaz Sharif noted the government's strive for inclusive and prosperous economic growth and stability on the 77th anniversary of national independence. Prime Minister Sharif his independence, in which he stressed they will continue to push forward efforts to continue providing positive answers towards the country's economic prosperity. China's Navy hospital ship, the Peace Ark, arrived in Mozambique as part of its Harmony Mission 2024. During the next 7 days, the ship will provide medical services to local residents. This marks the 4th stop of the Peace Ark on its current mission and its first return to Mozambique in 7 years. Harmony Mission 2024 officials highlight the significance of this cross-border medical collaboration. Following its mission in Mozambique, the Peace Ark is scheduled to continue its journey to South Africa, Angola, and other locations, extending its medical services to more local residents. On Wednesday, the Ice Swimming World Championships is underway at the Calafate city in Argentina as the sport event kicked off on Monday and its closing will be on Sunday. Over 100 swimmers from 14 countries are participating in the competition organized by the International Winter Swimming Association. Athletes are split into age categories from younger than 14 years old to over 90 years old, and they don't wear a wetsuit. Mayra Santos from Portugal won the gold medal in the 100 meters and the silver medal in the 50 meters in the 45 to 49 age category. Earlier, she had set a world record as she has swum for 30 hours, being the longest continuous swim in a counterflow pool. Santos and another competitor shared their views on the current swimming event.
I am very happy. I have no regrets. It is a very magical place, a beautiful place. Everything went well. Everyone treated us very well, and I am very happy.
It's my second time in El Calafate on Perito Moreno Glacier. I'm really happy to be here. It's really nice to competing. It's super nice that we can try in open water competition, all the distances, and the atmosphere is just amazing. The place is so beautiful. Really love it.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.